Right, good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and call the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order. It is Wednesday, January 21st, starting a little bit late at 6:48 p.m., so thank you, everybody, for your patience. Can I get you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Neff?
Here.
Mr. Dagan?
Present.
Ms. Craig?
Here.
Ms. Williamson?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve our agenda for this evening?
I make a motion to approve our agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda as presented? No? Okay. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Let's go on to approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of our December 17th, 2025 regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve December 17th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion items anybody'd like to cover? Nope. Okay. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nope. All right. Motion passes. This brings us to citizens' comments. Citizens' comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. To make comments, you can call our local number at 907-486-3231 or our toll-free number at 855-492-9202. Comments are for general topics only, so if you are here to speak on either of the cases this evening, please hold those comments until we open public hearings. If you are in the room and would like to speak, please sign in, state your name for the record, and make sure that the microphone is on before you speak. Okay, hearing and seeing no one who wishes to speak under citizens' comments, let's go ahead and move on to our public hearings for the evening. Our first case is case number 26-009, requesting a similar use determination to compare church use to cultural center use in Title 17 zoning code.
Madam Chair, this is Chris Friend, Community Development Director. I wanted to speak to something first before
I just wanted to comment and say there was no motion made yet.
Thank you. Yep, you're right.
I move to approve Resolution FY 2026-012.
Thank you. Is there a second? Excuse me.
Second it.
Okay, thanks. All right, go ahead, Chris.
All right. Sorry for jumping the gun on that. So based on discussion from the work session last week, I did request that the Borough Legal Counsel review 2 questions related to this application. The first one was whether a cultural center as defined by the applicant is a similar use to a church. And the second was whether the tribal ceremonies and educational activities are similar to religious practices under the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. Legal counsel did respond to staff that in the answer to both of those questions, the answer was yes, and they also concur that the staff's recommendations they concur with staff's recommendations as explained within the staff report. And I'll turn it over to Bronwyn.
Good evening, commissioners and citizens. I want to start off by thanking everyone for attending tonight's regular meeting. At last month's regular meeting, the commission voted on continuing the Les Noise similar use determination to this month's meeting. Some of the questions that came up have been answered in the handout that was posted at the front next to the agenda. After speaking with the applicant on the actual area that will be leased for the purpose of the cultural center, staff found out that the area that will host Kodiak's multi-use tribal center is 9,000 square feet section out of the 8,749.68 acre parcel. Within this, staff also determined that the impact and character of the proposed structure would be comparable to that of a church. The applicant states that this is not a commercially ran center, has no intention of turning into a commercial structure. As stated in permitted principal uses and structures in KIBC 17.50.020I, churches are an allowed assembly use within the C conservation zone. In addition, they also state that this center will not be a commercial event center, nor is it designed for large-scale tourism. Personal use cabins have been brought up as a concern. However, I will point out that these cabins, which do not show up within the site plans the applicant has submitted for this particular case, which would be a permitted use and would pass through administratively with the correct permits and site plans. This brings me to my next point, that the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, has issued a waiver to reforest the area that has been previously logged in years past. As stated within the handout provided by the applicant, their focus for the site is to maintain the Alutiiq and Sugpiaq culture, heritage preservation, and intergenerational learning. While they do plan to develop a small portion of the parcel, they also state that they want to maintain the open natural lands while allowing limited, low-impact community and educational uses. Their staff's presence at the facility will have little impact during the winter, as they anticipate to only run during the spring, summer, and in late fall time during the year. Hours of operation do seem to align with those of other assembly uses, such as a church, which it's being compared to at this point. Staff believes that the similar use determination be approved, as both the impact and character is similar to that of a church or an assembly use. Please let me know if there are any questions that either staff or the representative can answer at this time.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Specific questions from the commission of staff or the applicant before we open the public hearing? Go ahead,
Good
Athena.
question. Okay. And bear with me, because this is like my first case that I've actually, I think, kind of spoke on. So when we get asked the question of what kind of impact the cultural center will be like a church, we kind of talk about the footprint of the facility and how it leaves the surrounding kind of neighborhood, the area. I just wonder, it's showing the building size is 3,300 square feet, right? And I don't see anywhere where it says square footage for the parking and maybe anything else, like maybe a well, maybe a septic system. Like, I just curious if that 9,000 square feet will change depending on that. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't believe it would change. I don't think it would need to. A regular parking space, a minimum has to be 9 by 18. However, I can't calculate the actual parking analysis. We got it to a rough number. But until the building official issues a CO or gets close to the point of issuing a CO and he figures out what the actual sitting room will be, I can't accurately calculate a parking plan. However, 9,000 square feet and the building is only taking up about 32. We can even round it up to 35. That's still leaving 5,500 square feet
Okay.
for parking.
Okay.
So 3 parking space, I think, comes out to about 416 square feet, if I remember right, somewhere around there.
Okay. So the parking spaces that were on that could change?
It could, absolutely. It's not entirely accurate. It is a
Right.
rough estimate
Okay.
that staff and the applicant's representative who did submit this originally, we kind of came up with together to determine, just to give an idea of what it could look like parking area-wise. However, just like I stated, until the building official issues an official statement to me, giving me sitting or standing room and what the occupancy load would be.
Okay.
It's how it's written in 17.175 for parking, table 1.
And just the one thing I would add, the actual parking provision for this use and churches and assembly uses are all kind of bundled in one. So in this regard, the actual parking requirement, it would be exactly the same as a church, would be exactly the same as any other kind of assembly use. And so in that regard, that impact, we would consider it the same, because if this actually was a church building, the parking requirement would be the same as it is for the cultural center use.
Court?
Okay, so it sounds like there's not a definite on this. Is there any guarantees that this isn't gonna change one way or another, or?
Are you talking about the size of the structure?
Yeah, size of the building and that sort of thing.
At this point, I don't think they have any plans because they are engineered plans that they submitted or portions of engineered plans. So I don't believe that they have any plans of changing the size of the structure.
Okay, so they submitted to you guys, Maxwell, so if they wanted to change things, they would have to resubmit. I guess my concern is, we're approving it as similar use. What if it changed significantly and it wasn't so much similar down the road? If we aren't really spelling it out, how, is that kind of normal to go ahead and approve things like that without really having details spelled out for sure?
Can you give me an
Solid.
example of how it would change that would affect a similar use so I can properly answer you?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how big it could get, or,
Well, currently,
Uses
the
that could
case
change.
before us, we're looking at just the use. We're not looking at the size of the structure. However, that does come into play. I'm not dissuading that at all. However, the case before us is for specific to the use. As the applicant has stated, they have no plans to change the look of the structure, maybe minorly and cosmetic, but I don't believe that the size, and they've not indicated to staff or at the last meeting, the last couple meetings, they haven't indicated that they're changing the plans of the size of the structure nor the leased area.
The one thing I would add to that is that, in terms of assembly space, we're talking about this building, which is basically a 2,400 square foot assembly space for people, then there's restrooms, and then there's an office or two, and then there's a kitchen. That, my understanding is not looking to change. The only thing that could change is, when you go through building department for review, there could be some things that might change internally on some things based on that building review. And so we can't say nothing couldn't change a little bit based on that. And so I would just leave it at that. So things could change slightly if the building, in order to meet building code, they had to change something. But the idea of that this is having a large assembly space with these other things around it, I don't think is changing. But we do have the applicant here to testify in public hearing, so they could speak more to this.
Thank you.
all right.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any additional questions from the commission? No? Okay. Then let's go ahead and close the regular meeting and open the public hearing. Same story as citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to call in can use our local number at 907-486-3231 or our toll-free number at 155-492-9202. Please make sure to clearly state your name for the record. And it also does help if you turn off your radio or any other device that you're listening on to prevent feedback. And then anybody here in the room coming up to the podium, please make sure to sign in, turn the mic on, and state your name for the record.
Yeah, there is someone on the phone.
Okay.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Thank you for calling the Planning and Zoning Commission. Please state your name for the record. Hello?
Sorry about that. I to take my phone off mute. My name is Tom Panamaroff.
Would you like to speak on the 26-009 Lesnoy case?
Yes, I would.
You're free to do so at this time. You have about 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. As stated, my name is Tom Pennemeroff. I'm the Regional and Legislative Affairs Executive for Kodiak, which is the Regional Alaska Native Corporation for the Kodiak Archipelago area. Kodiak is also the owner of the subsurface estate associated with the Kodiak Multi-Use Tribal Center. Kodiak has been working with and engaged with the Kodiak Native Village in Lesnoy for about 3 years now on the planning of this facility. From the beginning, our involvement has focused on ensuring that the proposed use of the land is responsible, lawful, and consistent with the conservation principles, as well as respectful of the distinct roles of each of the entities involved in the project. To clarify the ownership, Lesnoy is the owner of the surface estate, Kodiak owns the subsurface estate, and the Kodiak Native Village is leasing a limited portion of the estate, both surface and subsurface, for non-commercial cultural community facility, as was explained. Kodiak's role as a subsurface owner is to ensure that the project does not conflict with our subsurface interests, and that any development remains low impact and carefully sited. Based on our ongoing engagement and review, we're comfortable that the proposed project meets those expectations. It's also important to state clearly that the project is not commercial in nature. It does not involve natural resource extraction, industrial activity, or commercial tourism. The proposed use, in our opinion, aligns with the intent of conservation zoning by limiting development, focusing on education and cultural use, and maintaining the overall natural character of the area. Kodiak recognizes the significance of this project beyond the physical structure itself. The Kodiak Multi-Use Travel Center represents long-term planning, collaboration, and stewardship. It's been thoughtfully developed through coordination among the surface owner, the subsurface owner, and the tribe to ensure clarity of roles and compliance with applicable requirements. From Kodiak's perspective, the similar use determination before you is appropriate and well supported. The application reflects careful planning, adherence to Borough Code, and a clear understanding of conservation values. Kodiak supports the tribe's efforts and believe the criteria for approval have been met. I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide comment, and Kodiak respectfully encourages the Commission to approve the similar use determination.
Thank you so much for speaking, Tom.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Do we still have a second caller on the line?
Yes.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Good evening. Thank you for calling the Planning and Zoning Commission. Please state your name for the record. You will have about 3 minutes to speak, and this is related to the similar use case.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jana Turvey. That's Turvey. I am the President and CEO of Lesnoy Incorporated, the village corporation that owns the surface estate for this project. And I am here speaking on behalf of my village corporation. For the record, I was born and raised in Kodiak, and I am a shareholder of both Lesnoy and Kodiak and a tribal citizen of Kodiak Native Village. Lesnoy has been actively involved in planning this project for approximately 3 years, working in close collaboration with Kodiak Native Village and Kodiak Inc., the subsurface estate owner who just spoke. From the beginning, our shared goal has been to ensure that any use of this land is thoughtful, lawful, and consistent with conservation values while serving the long-term interests of our shareholders and community. To be clear, Lesnoy owns the surface estate, and the tribe is leasing a small, defined portion of that land under a long-term lease. Lesnoy remains fully engaged as the landowner and has worked closely with the tribe to ensure the proposed use is non-commercial, low impact, and carefully sited. This project is not a commercial development. It is not a resort. It is not intended for large-scale tourism. The proposed multi-use tribal center is designed as a cultural, educational, and community gathering place, primarily for our tribal citizens and Lesnoy shareholders, with a strong emphasis on stewardship and respect for the surrounding landscape. As the surface owner, Lesnoy takes its responsibility seriously. The parcel includes areas that have been previously disturbed, and development has been intentionally limited to those areas to preserve the natural character of the land. Lesnoy is comfortable that the proposed use aligns with the intent of the Conservation Zoning District and meets the criteria for a similar use determination. We also want to emphasize that this project has been developed collaboratively and transparently. Lesnoy, the tribe, and Kodiak have worked together to clearly define roles, responsibility, and land interests, ensuring that the project is consistent with Borough Code and respectful of all ownership interests. From Lesnoy's perspective, as the landowner, the similar use determination before you is appropriate and well supported. The application reflects careful planning, conservation-minded design, and a clear understanding of the borough's zoning framework. We respectfully ask the Commission to approve the similar use determination and allow this long-planned project to move forward. I thank you for your time and consideration in allowing me to speak, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Liana Chinook.
Thank you for speaking tonight, Jana.
Thank you.
Questions for Ben? There are no more calls.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak this evening?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Gwen Sargent, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Kodiak Native Village as the Vice President of the Council and also the Executive Director. The tribe is leasing a small portion of land from Lesnoy Incorporated, as you've heard, is the private surface landowner, and Kodiak, who is the subsurface owner. The tribe is leasing a very small portion of land. It is going to be for non-commercial, low-impact, cultural, and community facility. The Kodiak Center is not going to be a business. It's not a resort. It is not for commercial tourism. It's intended primarily for tribal citizens and Lesnoy shareholders for cultural education, intergenerational learning, wellness activities, and stewardship of our land. The Conservation Zoning District allows limited low-impact community and educational use. This project was intentionally designed to meet that intent. We are using a previously logged land area, and we are going to be maintaining the surrounding natural character. The tribe is not asking for special treatment. We are asking for a fair application of the code based on the facts that were presented. The similar use criteria has been met, and the project aligns with the conservation intent. The project has been planned, as you heard, from Kodiak and from Lesnoy for about 3 years now. It represents a place for healing, cultural continuity, and responsible stewardship of our land. It has a deep meaning to our people. We respectfully ask the Commission to move this application forward and to approve the similar use request. Thank you for your time, Koyana.
Okay, it is on. Chamai. My name is Lily Smith, for the record. I'm the Tribal Operations Coordinator for the Kodiak Native Village, and I'm here to advocate for the approval of Kodiak's similar use application, not only as a staff member of the tribe, but as someone who lives in the borough. I have had the pleasure of learning about Woody Island and the people that used to live there, since they are no longer residents, as well as their descendants. I am the person in the office that answers the phone when tribal citizens call, many of them trying to find information about their ancestry, traditional practices, and cultural connections. As someone who hears the wants and needs from our tribal citizens, I can say that this building means more to them than a room with some tables and chairs. It is a place for them to come together like their ancestors did and dance, sing, learn, eat, and more. In the past, Aluktik people lived in sod houses, which are commonly known as boroughs, which is the Russian term. Traditionally, the Sukstun or Sukpiak term is chiklak, which is a tongue twister. And within each community, they would have one large chiklak that was for community activities. In this community house, they would socialize, have potlashes, which is the traditional term for potlucks, and community festivals. As American fishing industry introduced large quantities of Western goods, wood frame structures gradually replaced the sod houses. But Aluktik elders remember as frame houses replaced traditional sod houses in the early 20th century, the old sod-covered buildings became the gathering places for steam bathing, processing foods, and playing games. Today, sod houses are used for social and ceremonial gatherings as a proud symbol of Native heritage. This building would not be a sod house. It'd be more of a modern take. And it would equate to the purposes that Western culture churches provide. Hence why we are asking for a similar use application for our cultural center. Activities that I can see happening that churches also do, so it falls under the similar use, is funerals, holiday celebrations, potlucks, picnics, barbecues, movie nights, game nights, worship nights, which are intimate gatherings for praise, music, and reflection, which could relate to Sukpiak traditional dancing, social events, community cleanups, craft workshops, historical tours, seasonal tours, but not tourism, camps, and camps. Hearing the needs within the tribe on a daily basis, I encourage the commission board to approve this application. And I thank you for your time. Koyana Shinak.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Again, thank you for meeting and entertaining this application. My name is Tammy Taylor, and I am a Lesnoy representative for the TNV Cultural Center. I request that the Commissioners approve Lesnoy's request for a similar use as presented for the parcel of property indicated. As you know, from the documentation that was provided by staff and the discussions, the subject area is only one small parcel of the land owned by Lesnoy. The area is zoned for conservation, which includes many approved uses, including churches. The intended usage of this building as a place to gather and provide cultural enrichment is similar in character and is why we are requesting a similar use to a church. The Religious Land Use and Institutional Persons Act indicates that similar uses of churches include community halls, which again is similar to the intended use of the TNV Cultural Center. We're not saying that it's a church. We are saying that its intended purpose of this building is similar in use, similar in scale, similar in intensity, and similar in the impact to the area. This is a standard in the code, and Lesnoy has met this intended standard. A similar use determination exists precisely for the cases just like this. The tribe has a grant with funds allocated for this project, and these funds expire on December 31st, 2026. And as you probably understand, we are on a time crunch, and it's going to be very difficult to meet as it is, but we're ready to go. We kindly request and encourage you to approve this application. Thank you very much.
You guys hear me? Okay, I'm Todd Dorman. I have a piece of property, actually the cursor is on my piece of property. Right there. And anyhow, I've heard all this, it all actually sounds pretty good. Actually, I think the cultural center looks like it's a beautiful place, and I'm not opposed to it. But with that said, I've heard several different things about how big the area is, and it just doesn't show where at all up there where it is. I mean, I can see where it is on this little map. There's a little square where it shows a small, like maybe 30-acre area or something, but, okay, that'd be great. I wonder why isn't it in this right here?
That is not going to be in that one. It is in a separate document,
Oh, I see, okay. So I got a letter and it says it's 168 acres, right? The actual parcel that the cultural center will be on.
No, it's 9,000 square feet is what the applicant is.
No, the letter I have right here says it's 168 acres
The actual acreage.
of the parcel that the cultural center will sit on.
That's not our notice?
No, it's from the tribe. So,
It'll be this area right here, where my cursor is.
Can you pull up the document showing that? It should have been published in the packet.
actually, if you could pan over to some other private property. My property is 10 acres, so there's another piece of property over there that you can look at that's 160 acres, so that gives you a good idea how big it is. Right there, you're almost seeing it. Right there is 160 acres. All those parcels that are
Oh, right here.
privately owned. So that's really how big the area would be, right?
Not according, Tom, this is where the 160 acres comes in, but we're just using a small area within that. That's right, 160.
I guess it's just, my main question is actually about a future project, and it's all the cabins that will be built, or could be built. I don't know how many of them there are, or how big they would be, or how close in proximity they would be to the cultural center, or if they would even be part of the cultural center. I mean, the way they're described, it sounds like they would be. So,
Give you the document. I
Sure.
didn't want to interrupt you.
sure.
So this is the one that Ms. Sargent is looking at. This is 168 acres. This is the actual leased area, which we did receive the actual lease for that, showing that. So that's the actual 9,000 square feet.
I see.
Proposed site.
So could these cabins then just be anywhere in the 160 acres?
Our plans are not, what we presented, in the future, we may have cabins, but they would be right near the culture center. But that's not even part of.
But if right in the cultural center, I mean, is that the 9,000 square
Yeah.
feet then? So the cabins would all be in
Well, we
within
haven't even
9,000
talked
square feet?
about- That's a potential idea, is to have cabins.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about, though. I wonder why, if they're gonna actually be part of the cultural center.
We don't have the funds to build any cabins right now, yeah.
But when they're built, though, would they be part of the cultural
Yeah.
center?
Mhm.
So they could theoretically be,
Not in the 168, within that 9,000 square area.
that would not, I just don't think that would be consistent with a church use. I mean, it wouldn't look like a church.
Can staff,
Yeah,
It doesn't matter when it is, I mean,
I'm going to let Bronwyn interject.
Can staff answer the question regarding the cabins? So if you go into, I believe it's 1750 is the sea conservation zone. It gives all the permitted uses, which I believe our clerk is going to pull up for you. Cabins are an allowed use. So we can run the scenario that Lesnoy, Kodiak, and the Woody Island tribal, I'm going to butcher it. I'm so sorry. Let's run the scenario that they do want to pull up cabins and put it on the property. I don't want to say this in any rudely manner, but I wouldn't notice you guys. It would all be done administratively. if they pulled the correct permits, they had the correct parking, followed, it wasn't 5 different dwelling units, but if they were personalized cabins with no kitchen, which creates a dwelling unit, then you would never be noticed. So to bring up the cabin as a point of evidence and or a topic of discussion, it doesn't really affect this case that we're looking at.
No, it does.
I mean,
It
it's a
does to
permitted
me.
use.
And
I understand that, but.
I have a cabin on my property. It's no big deal to have a cabin. But if you've got 50 of them, and now we're talking about inside 9,000 square feet, I don't even think that's possible.
But again, it would be done administratively. It's a permitted use. It's absolutely allowed for them to have 50 cabins if they can fit it legally.
But
per
they
code.
would all be part of the cultural center.
Not this, that's not what they've stated in their, the evidence that was provided to staff.
I'll just,
We're looking at the use
I
of
don't know if I
the
can find it.
church against the use of the cultural center.
they said, they described the cabins as being a cultural immersion.
Okay.
So, I mean,
again, you
that's
know.
not a definition of what they're gonna be, but it's just, it sounds like it.
Okay. I understand your concern. And absolutely, staff is not trying to dissuade you from your concern. I'm just trying to explain it from a planner's standpoint and the borough code. It would be an allowed use. It wouldn't have to reside within that leased area. They could put it, as long as they were outside of the setbacks, they could potentially put it closer to your property than what it's looking at.
Sure.
I just want you to be aware that it's not specified for it to be reside within that 9,000 leased area, 9,000 square feet of leased area.
I think the thing that I'm trying to point out, though, is that if it's part of the cultural center, then, you know, I mean, it's different than just building a cabin. I mean, the borough calls my cabin well, basically, they assess it, and it goes on my assessment, you know? It's not just, you know what I mean? It's not just for nothing.
Sure, and absolutely. Unfortunately, my department doesn't have anything to do with the assessed value, so I can't really touch that topic. It's just not within my knowledge bank to be able to touch on assessing. That's a whole different kit and caboodle. And again, I'm absolutely not trying to dissuade you from your concerns. I understand them. But currently, if they could put up 2 cabins on that 9,000 square foot property, and as long as it's not 2 dwelling units as a cabin, so single-family residence, which I'm assuming maybe that's why your cabin is assessed what it is, but again, I can't really touch on that. A kitchen basically makes it a dwelling, a full kitchen would make it a dwelling unit. And if I'm missing anything, thank you.
So what I would say is, so you can have multiple uses on a property, so you don't have to have just one use. So if they're asking for the cultural center based on that cultural center structure, similar to a church structure, these are both assembly structures. Now, the discussion about cabins, that's a separate use. And even though they might say it's associated with the cultural center because it could be on the same lease area or it could be around the same lease area, in terms of zoning, we're going to look at that as a separate item, a separate thing, that they'd have to come in and get permits separately for that, just like they would have to come in and get permits for the actual cultural center structure. We're going to look at that as a separate thing, and they'll have to meet zoning for that particular project if they do come in for that, they would have to meet zoning at that time. In terms of the cultural center, we're looking at, in this review, it's basically about similar use in that, in the code, churches are allowed, but other assembly uses aren't listed in here. And other assembly uses can be the cultural center, it could be other, not-for-profit assembly uses. The applicant has asked that this be allowed in the conservation zone, similar to a church assembly use being allowed in the conservation zone. I can't speak to the cabins right now. All I can say is it wouldn't be considered the same as the cultural center, because we're only looking at the cultural center structure. If they're saying they could be associated in the future or be somehow related to it, that would be a separate use that we would have to review separately through its own permit application.
Well, it just, yeah, I hear you. It doesn't really seem like that would be consistent with a church or a cultural center to me, the cabins. I mean, there could be a lot of them. They could be, who knows what size. I mean, it could look more like a subdivision to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for speaking.
Did we get any additional phone calls, Haley? No. Would anybody else in the audience like to come forward? No? Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Commissioner comments? Go ahead, Court.
So Chrissy brought up the potential for high-density development of cabins. Is there a regulation in the code for those remote cabins as far as parcel size that would apply to those cabins?
Again, without having specifics on what they mean by a cabin, I mean, as Brahman had mentioned, there's issues with regards to if that cabin meets our definition of a dwelling unit, then they would have to meet the code with regards to a dwelling unit, and that means they can only have one on a conservation zone parcel, because that is only allows a single-family residence. Now, if it's a cabin that doesn't meet the definition of a dwelling unit, then they could have more of those. Then they would need to meet, setback provisions, and they would have to meet any ADC reviews and things like that, of course. And so, without having details, I couldn't tell you. If you're going to go and you want to put a subdivision, for example, with homes on it in the conservation zone, you can, but that's 5-acre lot minimum size to subdivide that in the conservation district.
Okay, so what would denote a non-dwelling unit cabin?
So non-dwelling unit would mean it doesn't have all the provisions that a dwelling unit would have. The commission just recently, as part of the short-term rental definition changes, proposed changes to the definition of a dwelling unit that is almost exactly the same as the definition in the building code. And so it would have to have all of the facilities that a traditional, single-family home would have. Your kitchen, areas for bathing, like a bathroom, living area, sleeping areas, those kind of areas would all have to be in there and be independently accessed from, say, any other type of unit on the property.
Okay.
Craig?
Thank you. Well, I'll just put this out there. I'm a no on this. I don't care what our lawyer says. I see this as a issue with the lease not being given to the actual church or community center for this tribe. That speaks to me that there is a commercialization of this property in this region that is potentially down the line. Now, that also being said, I don't feel like the larger community of Kodiak was included in this conversation. And the reason I say that is because I didn't see any notice about this until it comes across my desk in the Planning and Zoning Commission capacity. I would love to see this area be developed appropriately. And while there is a desire to keep the element of the natural beauty intact for sacred religious purposes, I do believe that there is an expansion that could be also embraced here for a growth of our community as a whole. So I can't see this, and that's why I'm going to say no to this particular item.
What's that, Seema? Yes, please.
So I think where there's a little bit of confusion, if I understand, sorry,
Todd correctly, or Mr. Dorman correctly, was that what he's reading is information that he got from the tribe, or a letter that he got from the tribe or Lesnoy or something like that. And so the misinformation that he's saying is coming through is that there are going to be cabins, because it's printed on his letter that they are talking about doing the cabins. Now, they said tonight that that cabin's going to be located on that 9,000 square foot. So I'm not sure we all have the information that we're supposed to have at this point. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying this is a no. I'm not saying this is, I'm just not sure that we all really understand, because at the work session, I could have swore we all talked about this, the square foot of the property only being 2,400 square foot. But now it's 3,370, and in the site plan, it's a little bit different. So I'm just not clear on it myself. I'm just asking at this point for everybody to understand what everybody else is seeing, because that's not what this gentleman is seeing, is what we have in front of us. Because his information from these guys was different. And was there a public meeting?
We invited the neighbors to come on January.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the point where we closed public
Oh.
hearing. So we can't be taking any additional testimony.
Can they ask the question?
They'd have to open up the public hearing.
Okay, so, thanks. I'm just wanting to give a little bit of clarity, I think, from where Mr. Dorman is coming from. When he's talking about a letter, he's not talking about a letter that we gave them. He's talking about a letter that he got from somewhere else. And that's where his clarification is needing more information or whatever.
Madam Chair, you can open it up back up for additional discussion to answer some of these questions that have been brought up. If you do that, I'd like to say something first before we open it up to other people, because I wanted to clarify some things.
Is the commission amenable to reopening the public hearing for additional testimony?
No. No.
So would that be a roll call then to determine whether or not the group?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have to record?
Yeah. Okay.
So a motion has to go?
Yeah, so I'm looking for a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I motion to reopen the public hearing for case number 26-009.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Haley, can we get a roll call, please?
Ms. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Dagan?
No.
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to change their vote? Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and reopen the public hearing. Chris, would you like to speak first?
Yeah, so the discussion in here, what was provided by the applicant, the supplemental from the very first public hearing that you did last month, was information regarding the size of the structure, the lease area. The 2,400 square feet that's mentioned is the size of the assembly area within the building. The building itself is 3,300 square feet, or just around there. And then the lease area is 9,000 square feet. So I just wanted to point that out to clarify that information. And that is what we discussed at the work session last week.
Okay.
Hello, this is Gwen Sargent with the tribe again, and I just wanted to clarify that the map that we provided, the 168 acres and then the small area that is what we are leasing. I apologize if that was confusing to the public. After we had the work session, we did invite on December 17th, we did invite the neighbors to an open house on January 8th. It was from, I believe, 2 o'clock until about 5 o'clock, and we had information handouts for the neighbors. We did not have anybody show up to that, so we were ready to talk about whatever their concerns were. The tribe and Lesnoy presented the Kodiak building. We have no other future plans. It has been talked about, maybe 1 or 2 cabins for personal use for the tribal citizens and the shareholders, very small cabins. That is not even in this, it's not even in our vision. We talked about maybe that would be a great thing to have. I don't know if you're familiar with other villages, but they have like the Nunyak camp, which is a day camp, and we were looking at something like that, but nothing as far as building cabins. This is not part of it. We did mention it because that could be a potential 20-year plan. We do have a master plan that we're looking at, and we're looking as far as 20 years into the future.
Craig.
Hello, thank
Hi.
you. So you mentioned something about your master plan. 2 points. Did you share that master plan with anybody yet? Are you able to share that? Is it not? fully
Actually,
developed?
as a private landowner and a private entity, we do have, we would like to keep that with ourselves. I mean, if there's nothing in it that's hidden, it's basically the educational purposes that we have in mind. We'd like to have nice trails for our elders that are wheelchair accessible. We want to be able to make sure that people that go out there are safe, that there's some great trails, and we talked about some agriculture, but if that is going to sway this commission in understanding what our plans are, I can certainly go back to our team, which includes Lesnoy and Kodiak.
The second question that I had, which was more of a deeper question, which was about...
What question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, so I'm going deeper into the ownership of the land.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you have to lease the very land that you own? I don't understand that. If this is a cultural center or a church or similar use of a church.
We are a federally recognized tribe, which is a very different entity than Alaska Native Corporation. So because of liability issues, we are leasing the land from both Kodiak and Lesnoy. I think it's $10 a year for 20 years.
And so would that be something that the cultural center would outright purchase the land?
Potentially in the future, that would be something, but we are a tribe of, oh my gosh, we have 3 employees and 600 citizens, and we don't have the capital in which to purchase land.
Okay. Thank you for helping to fill that
Yes,
in a little bit.
so cabins are in the future. We did use some of our discretionary funding. Is my time up? I'm sorry.
No, I actually
and
had a third question that popped up.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
So regarding the neighbors, one of the things that's important is to reach out to neighbors, and while you sent mail, that I know it's very difficult to get mail to certain locations. How well do you know the neighbors to be able to knock on the door, or the invitation of back and forth? Is that something that is cultivated amongst?
I've talked to Todd. I feel comfortable talking to him, having lunch with him, having a conversation with him. Patty Petite is also somebody that I've talked to. She's, I think, the closest neighbor, right over the little bluff.
Okay. So just a suggestion, recommendation, maybe a visit a few days beforehand if you're going to have another public open meeting about these kind of things?
So being a small tribe, as I stated, and building our capacity, we've never gone through this process before. And so we're learning along with Bronwyn and the wonderful folks here that are the staff of the Community Development Department.
As are we.
So we did not do things perfectly, and we did reach out to the neighbors, and this is the first time that we've gone through this process. So like I said, we did our due diligence, and on January 8th we did have the open house, and we're willing to have that again if that's necessary.
Thank you.
So are there some, I would like to know, Chair, what it is that you need additional information from the tribe and the team in which to make an informed decision?
Speaking just for myself, I don't need any additional information. The code is very clear that this is a narrow analysis. What we've been asked to do as a commission is to make a determination about similarity based on character and impact, not anybody's tax status, not who the landowner is, not whether it's going to be used for something different 20 years from now, not whether or not it's going to meet fire codes. There are mechanisms to make sure that we don't go astray in the future. I feel very strongly that the applicant has provided everything that we need to review whether or not the items like traffic, noise pollution, hours of operation, everything that staff has provided to us already as being similar. I think you guys have done a great job in providing the information that the commission needs.
Thank you.
Did we have anybody else that wanted to provide testimony since the public hearing is still open? We can give some folks on the phone a minute to, if you're listening and you would like to call in, our local number is 907-486-3231, and our toll-free number is 855-492-9202. Please make sure to state your name for the record, please, and turn off your radio or other listening devices to prevent feedback if you're calling in.
Hi, it's Seema. I just wanted to say thank you for the clarification. I think that just clears up a little bit of the muddy water, and that's all I was looking for.
What is your name? I'm sorry, Seema.
Seema is acting as ex officio member of the commission by way of being the borough assessor. That's her day job.
Hi, Kristlyn Hohen, Tunicknock Native Village tribal citizen. Just to clarify why we have a lease is in Anska, and we come across this down south as well under the ISDEA. Their tribes were given land in the lower 48. Our corporations were given land. So we have to go into a lease agreement with our corporation in order to utilize our own land. But they don't, I don't know, our funding comes through different grants and avenues to provide this structure and facility. So that, if that helps clear up some of the why we're leasing our land, it'll be a forever kind of thing, but we're trying to figure out how best to do a long-term lease, and that was what we came up with.
Thank you. I actually would like to ask a question, if I may.
Sure.
Would the corporation be willing to sell for like $1 the property? I know that there was conversation about it was exorbitant in the cost factor. As this has cultural aspects to it and or has served as a church similar use, would it not behoove them to give the property to the organization or the structure?
And I'm going to put that towards Jana Turvey, our CEO, and on why that isn't. There was a number of things that came into play on why that wasn't able to just go, hey, here you go. Here's your, parcel for $1, But they would be able to answer those questions for you. I'm not. Jana should be online. And she should still be online.
All right.
Thank you for your time and
Appreciate
consideration.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Good evening. Thank you for calling the Planning and Zoning. We are in the public hearing section of case 29 or 26-009. My apologies.
Good evening. This is Jana Turvey calling back in. Okay. I'm not having an echo. Okay. Commissioner Dagan, I believe it is, to answer your question directly, Lesmo is not in a position that we have been outright selling. We've been approached by a number of other entities, commercial use developers, people of that nature, to sell parcels of land, and it's just not in the corporation's interest at this point in time. It is, however, in our interest to work very closely with our tribe, who represents our tribal citizens, and who are also our shareholders. We are lock in step, hand in hand with them on this project. We did a lease in accordance with working with council, both for the tribe and Lesnoy, collaboratively, to figure out the best way to get this project started. It is our intent long-term to figure out a way to get the parcel into the tribe's hands and into their perhaps long-term ownership fee simple. But we're working collaboratively to do that. We've met the application's requirements for the similar use determination, which is before you, and how we go about addressing the use of the land for that. We will take that very carefully into consideration to make sure that this culture center is developed and meets all of the requirements and all of the intents that we've outlined in our application. Can I answer any other questions?
Thank you for the clarification and for calling back in.
You bet.
Did you have any? Come on, Tammy.
Madam Chair, this is Tammy Taylor again. Just for further clarification, that 9,000 square feet does include the area that we are looking at for the parking. So we have around 3,000 for the building, and then we have the area around there. So that's where those numbers are coming from. So we have included I think the code is one spot for every 4 people or something like that intended. So we're including that in the area. Huh? Yes. Yes, for the parking lot. The case before you, or the question before you, is this cultural center, does it meet the requirement as a similar in use of a church? And I think that Lesnoy has done a great job in providing the information in showing that the cultural use that they're intending to do, it does meet that intent. In trying to say that there could be something that happens later on, I mean, we could go build a church on that land right now because that is within the code. We wouldn't have to come and ask for a similar use. It's just amazing when you look at that 050 as to what is available to be put on that land, and then when you want a cultural center, it's not on that list. So we have to find something that is similar to that and bring that before you and ask you for permission. If they decide, should I say, that they want to do anything else with that land, then they have to, and it is not within that code, then they have to come back to you and ask for permission to do that. This is the first step in us being able to get this building started. We still have to go through other codes and building approval and code approval and all of that. So this is the first stepping stone to getting the land permission, the permission to use the land for this use. And so I think that Lesnoy has proven that that has been met. And I again request that you approve this request.
Thanks, Tammy. Any callers? No? Okay. Anybody else here in the audience? Okay. Let's go ahead and close our public hearing then and go back to the regular meeting. Commissioner comments or any additional staff comments?
Are there any other questions staff can answer at this time? Okay.
No, ma'am. So Haley, procedurally, because of the way that we moved to this case from last month, we just had our motion at the beginning of this case here. So we would be voting, right?
The motion you would be voting for is the motion to approve resolution FY 2026-012. That would be the motion you'll be voting on.
Okay. Unless anybody wanted to make a motion to
Yes.
postpone the case. Okay. Right. Just want to make sure everybody was on the same page. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I was a hard no on this originally, but I can see now there's a lot broader room for definitions there, and that legally, I guess I've been convinced that this fits the bill, so I don't have any problem with it at this point.
Go ahead, Athena's.
I was just going to move to approve Resolution FY 2026-012.
We have the motion on the floor already that they did before the staff report. So, so if there is no more discussion on this item, we can actually just go ahead and do a roll call vote. Okay, Haley?
Miss Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Dagan,
Yes.
Miss Craig,
Yes.
Miss Williamson.
Yes.
Does anyone wish to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you, everybody who came to speak on this evening and be part of the discussion. It is valuable and important and our civic duty. So I'm sure everybody's busy, has a busy life. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. All right, this brings us to our next case that I can't find on my iPad here. Here we go. Case number 26-010. Request for a conditional use permit to construct a hydroelectric turbine and generation system spanning across multiple properties for the purpose of providing a reliable source of long-term renewable electricity for the residents of Old Harbor. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll try it again. I move to approve Resolution FY 2026-014.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The applicant has applied for a conditional use permit for a utility facility as listed in the Conservation Zoning District. In this case, a hydroelectric power generation facility. In 2015, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a conditional use permit for the same use. However, the project did not proceed, and therefore a new conditional use permit is required. The location map on page 1 of 10 of the staff report identifies the perimeter of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's license, which is the extent of the proposed conditional use permit. This is except for the City of Old Harbor parcel, which is zoned R1 and is primarily used as an access easement and transmission line easement, and therefore not really a part of the power generation facility. The conditional use permit is required for the 3 conservation zone parcels that are part of the Kodiak Island National Wildlife Refuge. The previous conditional use permit approval is similar to the current application. I did get so there was a question at the work session, and so I just wanted to point out, I got this email right during the meeting from Corey Warnock, who's from McMillan, who's the consultant for this, who prepared the plans for and helped the applicant through the process. And so what he says, the primary difference between the 2015 application and the current version is the level of detail and the design elements provided. While there have been nuanced design alterations between 2015 and now, the design sheets provided with the 2015 version are directly out of the license application. Those drawings meet all required elements to secure a FERC license for the project, but are still at the conceptual level. So the drawings that they were provided with this application are actually much more detailed. They're at a 60% design level, and which is usually past the level where any fundamental modifications are made. So basically what he's stating is that the 2015 plan was more at the conceptual plan stage. It was nowhere near the 60% of detail. And so the plans you have before you today are much more detailed than the 2015 plans were. And so they've gone into much more detail in terms of construction of these facilities and how they're placed than it was in 2015. So hopefully that answers some of that question that we had at the work session about that. And also, I would also say staff has reviewed the application. The summary of the project phases are listed on page 2 of the staff report. The conditional use permit plans are attached to the agenda item. The justification provided by the applicant is listed on pages 3 through 6 of the staff report. Your staff analysis is provided within the staff report, pages 6 through 8. Proposed findings in support of this conditional use permit application can be found on pages 8 and 9 of the staff report. And also provided are conditions of approval on pages 9 and 10 of the staff report, and these are based on conditions of approval that were provided in the 2015 approval. Proposed Planning and Zoning Resolution number FY 2026-014 includes the findings presented in the staff report. And again, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit application, and I am available for any questions if you have those.
Questions of Chris before we open the public hearing? Nope. Okay. All right. With that, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to call in and speak on this item can use our local number 907-486-3231 or our toll-free number 855-492-9202. Please turn off your radio or listening device to prevent feedback if you're calling in. If you are here in the room, please sign in and state your name for the record and make sure that the mic is on. Were we anticipating a call-in from the applicant? I just want to make sure we're not.
So I do know the person who did email me about that one question is watching the meeting online. So I think if there were questions that you needed answered, they were watching. So hopefully they would be able to call in. I suspect without any questions, they're probably waiting to see if there's anything that you may have.
That's totally fine. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we weren't shortchanging anybody. Okay. Is there nobody on the phone? Haley?
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Good evening. Thank you for calling the Planning and Zoning Commission. You will have 3 minutes of speaking time, and this is related to case 26-010 for the Old Harbor Hydroelectric Plant.
Hi there. My name is Corey Warnock, and I'm just confirming. I'm with Macmillan. I'm just confirming Chris's earlier assertion that I am standing by in case any questions come up. So I'm not sure if it's easy to just put me on hold in case they do, but I am here and available.
Thanks, Corey. That's very much appreciated. While we have Corey on the phone, are there questions from the commission? No? This was very thoroughly written. I had some questions when I started out reading the staff report, and every single one of them got checked off the list by the time I got through all the documents. So thank you for that. Nobody else on the phone there, Haley? Okay. All right. Thanks, Corey, for calling in. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting with commission discussion. Discussion on this item? Yep. Craig, go ahead.
Excellent infrastructure, and so let's make sure we can provide this resource to our Old Harbor community. So I'm a yes for this.
All right, thanks for that. Any additional comments? All right, can we get a roll call vote, please, Haley?
Ms. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Dagan?
Yes.
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Does anybody wish to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That is all for public hearings this evening. We do not have any old business on the agenda. So we'll head on down to new business. Election of the chair and vice chair. Did you have anything you wanted to say about this, Chris, before we?
So I would just state how we have been doing it the last several years as we started with the chair and did motions for, I guess, nominations. And then once we had all the nominations done, then we did a vote on who people wanted to select as the chair, and then it'd be the same way for the vice chair.
Okay. All right. I think last week we kind of decided that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll just do it the same way we did last year. For the sake of brevity, since we're getting a little past 8 here, I'm willing to be the chair again, so I'll nominate myself. If there's a second.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Would you like for us to do a roll call vote on this one? Yeah. Okay. All right. Haley, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Just for clarification, Sarah is included in this vote? Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Dagan?
Yes.
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Does anybody wish to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
All right.
Madam Chair, I nominate Court for vice chair.
I second.
So if there are multiple nominations, do we vote on the first one and then bring up the second one? Or do we get a motion and a second?
So
on-
according to the paper, it says when there appears to be no more nominations, then the chair will do will ask for the roll call vote. So I think the nominations are made, and if there are no more nominations for that position, then we will go into roll call vote for each person.
For each one. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure I understood that. I was going to nominate Ms. Williamson for vice chair, assuming she's willing to accept. Okay. So then we also need a second on that one.
Are you second?
Okay.
Ask if there are any more nominations, since there has been a couple for this particular, for vice chair.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a very big first percentage of us already. Any additional nominations for vice chair? No?
So, if I understand, we have 2 candidates for vice chair, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I withdraw my acceptance of that. Since she's interested, I'd be glad to let her have a shot at it. So why not put myself up? Thank you, though, for your support.
You're welcome.
I would like to state for the record that Court Neff withdrew his acceptance of the vice chair position. Nomination.
Okay. So any, no additional folks here? All right. Then did we get a second on the last?
Second.
I couldn't remember if we did when I made the motion for Athena's. Yeah, I know. That far back. It was like 3 minutes ago. So, okay, but we do have a second now. So we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Dagan?
Yes.
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Frazier?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to change their vote? Motion passes 5-0.
All right. No more new business items. We have one approval letter under planning and zoning case result letters. No abbreviated and final plat approvals this month, which will bring us to director's comments. Chris.
Yeah, so we have 3 things to talk about. I'll start with some of the middle one first. Code enforcement officer. We talked about that before. We still are looking for that position, and I'll keep the commission up to date as we are going forward with that. Going back to number 1, for Plan 2045 Comprehensive Plan, remind the commission that we do have an open house tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. here in the Assembly Chambers. This open house will be dealing with 2 elements of the comprehensive plan: arts, culture, history, and then the environment element. In addition, we also have surveys, and those are listed in the comprehensive plan where you can find those, but it's on the Plan 2045 website, on the borough's website, and you can find 2 surveys, one dealing with the environment and the other dealing with arts, culture, and history. And then lastly, just wanted to give the commission a heads up that the short-term rental ordinance, I think I mentioned that earlier in one of our cases, is the introduction is going to the assembly tomorrow for introduction. We didn't really have any questions at work session when it went, and we did get some praise from the mayor and one of the assembly members regarding the work on that ordinance, and so I'm hopeful that it'll go through well tomorrow. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
I did not have any questions. Commission have any questions?
No questions.
Nope. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Bronwyn, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just appreciate
All right, and Haley, how about you? Anything to share?
Likewise.
Definitely. Okay, this brings us back to citizens' comments. Citizens' comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. To make comments, you can call our local number at 907-486-3231 or our toll-free number at 855-492-9202. We don't have anybody left in the room with us, so I'll skip that bit. You know the drill, Seema.
You're one of us.
Nope. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and close citizens' comments then and head on to commissioners' comments. I don't remember what end I started at last time. Let's start with Mr. Dagan.
Thank you. I was glad to hear CamXT announce the 2045 plan on the air as a community event. So I'm glad to see that we're doing some publication there. Keep at it. Thank you, Chris, for your due diligence. Brownwood, Haley, thank you for managing all those calls coming in tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. And just a reminder for everybody to do their PFD. And
Yes, thank you.
that disclosure thing, that
APOC disclosure.
Make sure you get that done. Which I did that today, but not my PFD. And thank you so much, everybody, for all the information and everything that you guys compile, and and it helps me learn. That's for sure, which is really good. Thank you.
Court.
No comment.
Athenas.
Well, I was really looking forward to beating Court Neff at rock, paper, scissors to see who was going to win the vice chair. But thank you guys for the nomination. I appreciate it, and I look forward to continuing to work with you guys. Thank you guys so much for all the work that you guys do.
Thank you. I don't have much other than I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be there at some point. I hope the rest of you might be there at some point. Just maybe give Chris and Bronwyn a heads up of when that might be so that we don't all show up together at the same time.
And we have snacks too. So, and it's only going to take you like 20 minutes to do these exercises. So you don't have to be there for 6 hours.
Or
just
I
like
can do the
we'll have to be there for
exercises
6 hours, but you all don't have to be there for 6 hours.
Do the exercises for half an hour and then eat for 5.5. Yeah, yeah. That sounds good. I did, yes, story of my life. All right. Well, with that, I would love to accept a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm lying. I just lied to you. Let's back this train up. So everybody knows when they can come and hang out with us again. Our next work session is going to be Wednesday, February 11th, 6:30 p.m. here in Assembly Chambers, and our regular meeting for February will be February 18th, also at 6:30 p.m., also here in Assembly Chambers. So we hope to see everybody there. Now I'm at a good spot to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
Great. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Nobody's opposed. All right, we're adjourned at 8:11.